Hi, this is Sandi Maki, and it's time for a little heavy breathing just before midnight. I was trying to think about what to talk about today, which seems like the way that I start a lot of these talks. I always try to come into this with some kind of a basis for what I'd like to talk about. And sometimes when I settle on something that I'd like to talk about, something else pops up and it just seems so much more relevant to me. So, lesson for me, and perhaps a lesson for you if anything like this ever happens to you, I should just go with my intention of clicking the button and seeing what happens instead of trying to plan my way around the entire thing. There's a time and a place for planning, and then I think there's a time for just saying what comes to mind. I know this works for public speakers. A lot of the time they say they just start talking and an hour passes or 2 hours pass and really they have no idea what came out of their mouth, but they're sure that it was profound and awesome. And that's when you step out of the way of your analytic self and just get into the process. So I was trying to overanalyze, and then I was spending a little time in my portal to the universe, otherwise known as Facebook. Came across a friend of mine that I would have been friends with on Facebook, and then something must have happened where we were disconnected. So I just refriended her and was reading her latest updates. And her husband, so my friend on Facebook is Colleen Ratana, and her husband Israel, also a friend, had brain surgery in August. And somehow, not being connected to her, I missed that update and I missed that life change. They're a great family with wonderful kids living now in the Chicago area. They were from Brighton when I met them. And I was stunned. I was taken aback momentarily. Israel is not that old. And to hear that he had brain surgery to remove a malignant tumor and is in the hospital recovering and learning how to have basic life skills again. I was just taken aback and almost hard to imagine. And it's really, really interesting because it seems like lately, in the last month or two, so much is happening. And I'm hearing about so much with people that are close to me and people that I care about that I'm maybe trying to make sense of this a little bit. So, needless to say, thoughts and prayers go out to that family for the recovery into a new normal, which is a pretty decent segue into what I wanted to talk about today when I was coming up with ideas. I had lunch with a friend from Brighton yesterday, and we were talking about doing things that we think we need to so that we can deserve our life, our lifestyle, the rewards, the benefits, the things that are coming to us. And in this particular conversation, we were talking about overcommitting and overdoing it and trying to keep everyone around us happy and not spending enough time for ourselves. My friend, who is absolutely wonderful and brilliant and such a giver, gives so much to everybody else that I think she sometimes forgets to take time to do the things that she really wants to do. And when we were talking, I know that she mentioned she's got some grand plans to be able to travel and do a cross-country RV trip and, create a lifestyle that just makes all of this possible. And she said, I think we can get there probably 3 to 5 years. And my question is, why wait 3 to 5 years? Why not just start now? The analogy that was pointed out about what happens when we try to make everyone else happy is if you've ever seen those guys at the circus that do the spinning plates, you can probably look for a YouTube video and maybe I'll look for one to accompany this. Anyway, they get one plate spinning on top of a stick or something, and then they get another plate spinning and they have to keep running around and cycling through those plates to keep them spinning in the air. And that's almost what I think of when I think of people, and I know that I do it myself. As much as I try to honor doing the next most important thing and not getting caught up in just spinning plates, I know that we all do that. We all try to keep all these plates spinning in the air, afraid that if we drop one, something catastrophic will happen. And I think that dropping of one could be symbolized as change. We are simply afraid of change. Changing what we know. And sometimes what we know isn't what we want, but it's what's here. So we just keep doing it because we don't know what else to do and we are paralyzed and we don't want things to change. Well, I know that this is true for me, and I'm a proponent of big changes. When in doubt, just jump and see what's going to happen. And yet, I'm trying to rearrange my furniture in my office and considering pulling a bookcase out of my bedroom. And I'm struggling with it. I don't want to move something as simple as a bookcase. I don't have a reason to keep it in there, and I thought I'd like to try it without it, and yet I am paralyzed and almost afraid to move a bookcase. It's completely irrational. There's no reason for it, and yet what I could equate that to is it's known, so it's comfortable. What if I go through all that work and I move things all around and then I don't like it and I decide that I want it back the way that it was? Well, think about how much work it's going to be to put that all back together. Well, then my mind says, why do it at all? So I'm paralyzed and I'm not changing that. And when I was having a conversation with my friend yesterday, we were talking about all of her spinning plates. And I said, what if you just let them all fall? Or what if you took them off one by one and you just flung them back out into the universe? What if you didn't run around trying to make them all spin? And then, what if you simply decided what it is that was most important to you and you made that spin? So instead of having this whole series of, 10 spinning plates going, what if you had one or two of your very favorite, most important? I think when we get caught up, I know when I get caught up in trying to do all these things to make everybody happy and ending up not making myself happy or others really, I'm afraid that if I drop something, something is going to happen. And yet, if I thought all the way through, well, what if I just stopped doing that? Nothing would happen. But we spend so much time pushing things away and not allowing things to be because we're afraid, because we don't know what it looks like yet. We don't know what it feels like. And it's safer there. Well, when I was reading about Israel today and thinking about how abruptly his life changed and the life of his family changed, it sort of puts into perspective having to keep all those plates up in the air. There is absolutely no reason that any one of us has to do that, and yet we carry it. And there's so many reasons. There could be, guilt reasons. And if we have kids, we have to provide certain things for our kids, and there's certain expectations. And all of these things from the social dream box. And the social dream box is what comes from our gut level programming and from our childhood programming. And by programming, we put programs in our head when we figure things out. So our whole childhood, we're observing behaviors around us. We're learning from our parents and our teachers and figures in our lives and from society, things that we see on TV and hear on the news. We're putting this all into our mind and we're assimilating all the information, and then we're drawing conclusions based on the things that we've put in that box. We also oftentimes think that the committee of they is looking at us, and they're the ones who expect to see us doing all this stuff. Well, the committee of they, when you really think about it, doesn't exist. The committee of they typically comes down to the thoughts that we have about what we think people are thinking about us. And guess what? Nobody cares. Nobody cares how many plates you have spinning or how busy you are or how many things you have on your to-do list. You're the person that cares about that. Other people care about you and they want your success. But there is no committee of they that has a checklist that's holding it up saying you accomplished this satisfactorily and you didn't accomplish this. It's all in our mind. And we make ourselves crazy sometimes trying to take care of all this. And we make ourselves feel like we're not measuring up, or that we're sad, or that it's drudgery, or that I just have to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. Because that's the easiest thing for us to default into, when just the opposite is true. The committee of they, if there was such a thing, is rooting for your success, and it's rooting for your happiness. So the next time you find yourself in any situation where you could almost equate it to the guy at the circus with the plate spinning on top of the pole, stop yourself and ask yourself, is this really serving me and serving my happiness? Or am I simply doing it because I think I should, or I think someone else expects it of me? Because if those are your answers, I encourage you, throw it out like a frisbee. Let it go and see what happens. Sometimes we're forced to let things go. Sometimes when things happen in our lives that we don't realize, to people that we love, people around us, or to ourselves, we reevaluate really, really quickly. What a gift we would give ourselves in the world if, when we are just doing things because we think we're supposed to, what if we took the opportunity when everything was great to look at some of the things that we're doing and make some of our own changes? Wouldn't that just be amazing? I've talked about notes from the universe before, and I get one in my inbox every day. The website, if you'd like to subscribe, is tut.com. tut.com. And these are notes that come from the universe that have the most profound things in them that just seem so relevant any given day. I'm switching gears here, obviously, if you haven't noticed. The Insights group had a holiday party last Friday, and we raised money toward the Insights Angel Fund, supporting entrepreneurs, and we raised money for the family of Phil Ziskowski, a local entrepreneur and friend of ours. In honor of him, we were able to raise a nice amount of money and donate it to his family. So interestingly enough, the note that I got from the universe just yesterday sums up some thoughts, and I'd like to share those here with you. The note from the universe from yesterday is the top 10 things that people who have passed on want to tell living people. And they are significant in my life right now because of knowing someone who's just passed on. So the top 10 things to remember, and this is just one perspective, but they're profound. Number 1, they're not dead. Number 2, they're sorry for any pain they caused. There's 3, there's no such thing as a devil or hell. Number 4, they were ready to go when they went. Number 5, you're not ready. 6, they finally understand what they were missing. 7, nothing can prepare you for the beauty of the moment you arrive. 8, don't try to understand this now, but life is exceedingly fair. 9, your pets are as crazy, brilliant, and loving here as they were there. And 10, life is really all about love, but not just loving those who love you. Those are pretty significant, and a reminder that, as Wayne Dyer says, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. This is the vehicle that we get to play with. Sometimes unexpected things happen, and it may be time for those things to happen, whether we understand it or not. Sometimes people that we love leave our lives, And sometimes big things happen that alter the course of our lives. And sometimes when we create a certain awareness within us, we make the changes that will create significant things come to fruition in our lives, and we can choose to be blissful, content, and happy at any given time. So let's do it before we have one of those human reminders. Let's remind ourselves all the time to make sure that we're not just running around like a guy at the circus spinning plates. I think life is much more significant than that, don't you?